Hello! Today we do the final installment of the installation of that checkerboard trim that goes around the tabletop. So I pulled off the clamps to see where we're at, and it looks not bad, but there's some dings in it that needs finishing, and that's what we're going to do today, is finish this up. So it's got some overflow of the glue, and it's got some spaces in there that need repaired, and so we're going to start on that. The first thing we're going to do is sand, and I mean take 80 grit sandpaper and sand it down to where the veneer is flush with the tabletop edge. And after we've done that, inspect to see what we've got going on here. So the old fingernail test, and yep, there's a gap right there. And that will have to be fixed. You don't want little imperfections in this thing. It's not very cool. And to have put such hard work into it, you can see other little gaps in there, but all those can be fixed. I mean, so we'll show you how. So we come over to the table or the bandsaw, cut a little piece of material that was used to create those little checkerboards, and start fitting it into the gaps just a little bit. Cut it at a wedge so you can just wedge it on in. And after you've got it fit, you grab some super glue, some wood super glue, and squeeze the thing in there. Clean it up, squeeze it in there, and let it dry. So it might take a little time in front of the bandsaw to kind of get it to where the wedge is just right, but then get it in there and then just kind of make sure it's glued in, and put a little tap with your finger in there to make sure it's tight. After you've got the glue set, go over it again to make sure you've got all the little gaps covered. Once again, the fingernail test, make sure, because we're getting near where it's time to finish this. So I get up, use an X-Acto saw that I keep in the shop for doing micro work like this. And saw it off very, very gently, flush with the rest of it. Make sure it looks good, and it does. Save that extra, you never know. You may need it. Find another boo-boo in there. And we go and we do the other gap that was in there. Make sure that little piece is fit in there. It's snug with the super glue. Sand, and make sure it's sanded flush with the rest of it. And then we take another sanding block and clean up all the little outside glue stuff that kind of came off, because when you put a finish on it, that glue will jump right out at you. So yeah, big job here, a lot of tedious work. Then clean up before finish is just 2 tablespoons of vinegar in a spray bottle full of water. Make sure you're using a nice new clean rag, and then go over this and get all the sawdust up out of there before we apply a finish to it. I like to put a nice hard finish of shellac on these things. Anything that's fragile, even though we're far from done with the table and finishing it, but this also helps bring out where there's any glue that you might have missed in that sanding. So this helps draw it up, and gives you an idea how good it looks, and it looks great. But yeah, you can see some glue that came out there that we still need to clean up with that sanding block. So this is going to take several efforts of just this to make sure we get all the glue up, otherwise it looks awful. So now you take the sanding block and find out where all those glue outs are at and scrape them up. Either if the sandpaper doesn't do it, then use a chisel, but clean it, sand it, chisel it. Clean it, sand it, chisel it until there's none left. Now we put a layer of shellac on it, and that's grab the shellac and use one of those a little brush to put on here. And like I say, the tabletop isn't even close to being finished, but because that veneer is kind of fragile, I like to make sure it's got some protection on it. And these are some detailed stills of what it looks like when it's done. It looks great. Really makes the workpiece look very, very nice and professional and unique, which is what you want with this sort of stuff, something nobody else in the world has.